So I appreciate the reminders of all the ways that there are to show up to this work and to be in conversation with people who are really committed to our environmental sustainability because it grounds me back into hope.
I am very concerned with the environment, and I'm very concerned with the soul because they both work together. It is a soul song, which is the universe. And we must learn a language that helps us to do that better.
It's clarifying that the conversation that we've been having about climate change has been rooted in alarmism, in describing the worst aspects of the problem, those we know and those we're uncertain about. And it highlights that this is an urgent problem that needs policy action now, which is helpful, but it also alienates the vast majority of people from participating in solutions.
And it really is hard to watch this sort of nation and society sort of break down to a point where all we do is sort of shout at each other and try and prevent each other from being successful. And that concerns me in terms of being able to, actually address the major challenges of our day.
And I think what's really important is reframing this conversation to one of hope. And instead of talking about, this future catastrophe that's going to happen, talk about what the future looks like if we tackle this problem now. What could be the future? And I think even though, that doesn't solve the problem in itself, there's a lot of work to do to get there. I think motivating people with hope is so much more powerful than motivating by fear.
The people that I get to talk to in the rural South, they're afraid of losing a way of life, of losing, talking with coal families where, they're in the mines. It's like that economic lifeline dries up. What does that mean? There's a fear of that economic instability. And so no matter who I'm talking to, I really have to get to that, really have to listen, really have to hear that fear before we can have anything constructive.
I instantly, made that transition to being vegan and haven't gone back since. Don't see myself going back because for me, it's a way that I get to be in alignment with my commitment to the environment and to passing on a sustainable planet every single time that I eat. So that's one of the most major ways that I made a shift in my lifestyle to really support protecting our environment.
How do you build public kinship? Which means you may have the uncle that you detest the most who shows up for Thanksgiving, but your mother has said, I taught you better. Do not act like that. He doesn't understand what you're saying, act appropriately. And I think that the etiquette of environmental discussion is very important. What is that etiquette? Where do we learn to do that?
So much of the work that I do is really focused on, conserving those habitats and those wild places that are not only important for providing clean water to communities and important fish and wildlife habitat, but they're really critically important in maintaining a connection between people in the natural world. And, I think one of the strongest motivators that, we can have is if people, go outside and they experience, what it's like, they have that personal connection. And then I think they see the value in it and they care about it.
If we get the incentives right, if it is a passive decision to protect the environment, we will protect the environment. So the motivations that people bring to the work of creating a safer environment, pushing for policy change, how they connect to the soul of the work of creating a more stable future, all of those things are really important. There will be 7 billion people who don't care at all about connecting to the environment or the future of the environment, and we need them to build a more stable climate future. We need every decision they make to be pointed in the direction of a more stable climate future.
And we never have to choose between the environment and the economy. I believe that is a false choice. We can have a strong economy and a strong environment, a protected, healthy, sustainable environment. These exist. These can easily exist together.
Maybe in Miami, Florida, where sea level rise is, a real threat and is visible, it's tangible, but somewhere like I grew up, people are not going to be able to grasp onto one thing and say, oh yes, I see climate change is happening. It's not what the culture is. But, farmers understand soil erosion and they understand extreme weather. So I think bringing it back to what makes sense in someone's backyard, what they've experienced is just critically important to getting more people engaged, and then we can start more of a policy discussion from there, because what is going to work in Florida is not going to work in Montana. We're too diverse of a country, whether that be geographically, ethnically, politically. We just have so many different solutions that are going to be needed.
We also need to be building relationships with those groups that are hard, and so much of policy in America is driven by thought leaders, and those people have a ton of influence over a lot of people. And if you can convince them, then it really sort of, in many ways, has an influence on a much larger number of people. And I think we need to be willing to make ourselves vulnerable in that we're willing to have honest conversations with people that might not like what we're doing, but are critical in its success.
So I just became a parent, and one piece of advice that I got over and over again that I actually took and didn't ignore was do everything out of love. And I think that really applies to the kind of work that we're talking about here. I don't think any of us is in this job for a paycheck. We do it because we're working on issues that we care deeply about.
There are other people out here who are doing this work, who have hope and have solutions. Thank you all so much, and wishing you a blessed rest of your day.